Do we always obtain perfect denture bearing area? Is it possible that you get best retention, support and stability? No, right? Then what exactly goes wrong? Hello everyone, I am Dr. Rudy Lalan, prosthodontist and author of Prosthodontic Mind Map book, and today we shall be learning about pre-prosthetic surgery. So attaining a perfect denture bearing area is so important, and most of us actually miss this step and hence cry when we have to insert the denture in patient's mouth. So it is defined as the corrective procedure that is performed before denture construction and placement. Beforehand, if you see that the depth of the vestibule is not correct, the bone condition is not proper, there are undercuts that are present, there is a torus that is present, all of these need to be corrected beforehand. Not when you want to insert the denture and you realize, oh, now this is hampering. No, it is not done at insertion phase, it is done before even taking the impression. And definitely the objectives here are to improve mastication, give acceptable facial and dental aesthetic, create a broad ridge form such that broader the ridge, better would be the support and the stability of the denture, adequate vestibular depth and interarch relationship. Now we know. Can you recall the resorption pattern? So maxilla goes centripetal and mandible goes centrifugal. Now because of this, mandible will appear prognathic and the maxilla goes inside. So this leads to appearance of class 3. This is basically because of ridge resorption pattern that it happens. And what is the ideal relation that we want to obtain? Definitely it is class 1. So to get proper interarch relationship is also one of the objective. Now what are the basic procedure? It can be divided into two types. It can be soft tissue and hard tissue. Soft tissue, there will be frenum that can be hindering. There can be flabby tissues. There can be inflammatory tissues that are present. And thus all of these need to be removed before placing them, because movable tissues are not favorable for our dentures. It always has to be the resilient tissue which is firm in nature. So frenectomy can be done for labial and lingual frenum. Denture fissuratum needs to be corrected beforehand if at all there is any mobile tissue, which is also known as flabby tissue. There needs to be correction. There are alterations in impression technique that can be adopted, but this needs to be taken care of before taking the impression itself. Now, flabby tissues can be found on the ridge and it can also be found on maxillary tuberosity. And if at all flabby tissues are present, it leads to tipping of dentures. Hence, it should be avoided at any cost. And inflammatory hyperplasia. So inflammatory hyperplasia will also lead to mobile tissue, which will again lead to instability of denture. Talking about the hard tissue operations now. So the first thing that we are going to see is alveoloplasty, which means reshaping of bone. Alveoloplasty will be required in cases wherein there are sharp bony spicules that are present. So this can simply be filed after raising a flap and it can be contoured easily. Talking about this thing, which is intraseptal alveoloplasty. So what is meant by intraseptal alveoloplasty? Basically, whenever there is extraction that has happened within the socket, there is going to be compression that would be done. So there are two methods. There is Dean's method and Obwegesser's method. Now what happens in Dean's method? Basically finger pressure is applied to the labial cortical plate. So you preserve the cortical plate in both the techniques. Here there is digital pressure that is applied While in the second technique, it is done either through mallet or chisel. So because there is instrument that is applying the pressure to the labial cortical plate, this is more controlled and also more precise than that of Dean's technique. Talking about tori removal. Now, while studying the anatomical landmark, we saw how tori can lead to instability of denture because first thing, these are like blobs of bone that will cause hampering of placement of denture. At the same time, the mucosa is really thin. So that will also be a problem. So in maxillary, it is usually present at the palate, and for mandibular, it is present lingually. Another tissue that needs to be reduced if at all there is excessive deposition of bone in that area is maxillary tuberosity. So let's see how a maxillary tuberosity will lead to instability. So here what you see is a bulbous maxillary tuberosity. The first step would be raising the flap. Once the flap is raised, you can use either a ronger, burr or chisel. So use any instrument to contour the maxillary tuberosity, and post that it is sutured. It is allowed to heal, and then you begin with the denture fabrication process. Talking about the tori removal, it's similar. You open, you raise the flap, you file the bone that is irregular, make the denture bearing area smooth and contoured, and you suture it up well, allow the tissues to heal well, and you begin with the impression procedure. At the same time, buccal exostosis. So here you can either perform alveoloplasty or there can be surgical improvement of bone contour and mylohyoid ridge if it's very prominent because of severe resorption that needs to be smoothened out, again using a file. So this was about the basic operation. Now let's see what happens in the advanced operations. So we talked that what is the desirable interarch relationship? It will always be class 1. So our first attempt would be to get the relation in class 1, and for it we might have to do various procedures. Now ridge extension. So what is meant by ridge extension? You are trying to gain height and the width of your ridges. This can be done by, first method is vestibuloplasty, which means that you deepen the vestibule. Now it can be done in two ways. In maxillary, it is submucosal, and in mandibular, there are methods in which lingually based flaps are used and they are transpositioned, or there is something known as lip switch, in which the labial flap is replaced by the alveolar mucosa or the alveolar flap. This will lead to deepening of vestibule without adding any bone. It is just we are taking the vestibule lower to its original level. Or there can be grafts that can be placed. So full thickness means all the layers of dermis and epidermis. Partial thickness would mean that epidermis along with some amount of dermis would be taken. There can be palatal mucosa that can be taken, or the buccal mucosa that could be used to deepen it. Then there is a technique of ridge augmentation. So now when we talk about ridge augmentation, this can be done by adding the bone structure. So it can be in both the arches, in maxillary as well as mandible. What happens in maxillary arches? It can either be on top of it, beyond it, or in between. So if it's on top, it's onlay. Beyond it cannot, because maxillary will have sinus. So it is not possible to have something inferior or beyond it. But there will be inferior border that can be attached to mandible. So mandible will allow superior border inferior border and something that is in between both of them, which is known as sandwiched. And there can also be interpositional or sandwiched bone graft used for maxilla, and there can be hydroxyapatite. This acts as adding on to the bulk to the bone or the hard tissue. So that can be done for both of them. Maxillary might also require a procedure that is tuberosity, which means that you take the bone from the maxillary tuberosity and utilize it. Now we know, right? Autografts are more easily acceptable. So these grafting techniques are more successful compared to the other bone grafts that are used. What you see here is a figure that shows how it can be attached superiorly, inferiorly, or in between both of them. Let's solve the flashcard. Why is vestibuloplasty alone often insufficient for long-term improvement of denture retention in severely resorbed ridge? So one hint is that the ridges are severely resorbed. Now, if you guessed it that we would need ridge augmentation, you are correct. Because vestibuloplasty will increase the vestibular depth by repositioning the soft tissue, but the height will not increase. The hard tissue level remains the same. So if there has been resorption, you would also want hard tissue to increase in height, and hence there will be ridge augmentation that would be required. Moving on to the MCQ. A patient with severely resorbed mandibular ridge presents for complete denture fabrication. Which pre-prosthetic surgical procedure most directly improves support rather than retention or stability? So one point that we have to consider here is support. Labial vestibuloplasty, lingual sulcus deepening, ridge augmentation with bone graft, frenectomy. First thing, frenectomy is related to soft tissue, so I'm going to remove it. Vestibuloplasty will help me increase the depth, but at the same time, if the bone itself is resorbed, no matter how much I deepen the sulcus, the bone level remains the same. Again, lingual sulcus deepening will not. But alveolar ridge augmentation with bone graft is the correct answer here. I hope it was easy for you to understand the pre-prosthetic procedure, and now you will not goof up and wait for the denture insertion to tell you that an anatomical landmark needs correction. Go to the note, make your own notes as well, solve the MCQ flashcard, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.